from London to New York to the class of Carrie and Reeves. My name is Erika Meza, and I am the illustrator of my two border towns.
Hi, everybody. I'm David Bowles. I am the author of my two border towns, and we're so excited to be talking to you today.
Yeah, we received a fair amount of questions from you guys, and there's a lot of very interesting ideas. We're very excited that you liked the book and that you thought it was an interesting read. Unfortunately, we're not going to be able to cover them all, but we do have a small list here. So if we miss anything, so sorry. Now, the first question here that I've got is, why did the illustrator choose these colors for the book? Why did you want pictures that were colorful for Mexico, but not so colorful for the other town? So one is from Eva, the other one is from Carolina, and I'm just going to address them both together. So the colors were chosen in an effort to tell the story on a level that would perhaps not be very obvious. So you've picked up on that, which means that I did a good job. You guys, you noticed. Well done. Mexico is a very colorful place. It's a place where we like to paint our houses blue, orange, red, yellow, green, purple, pink. It's very common for people to, instead of saying, go to this street on a number 3, 4, or 81, it's easier to just say, I live in the blue house, or I live in the pin house. So it's very common for you to paint your house in a color that is different from the color of the neighbor's house. And we just enjoy a little bit of color. So it made sense for me that the Mexican side should be very, very colorful. And then the US side, which I think embraced color back in the 50s, and it was a very sort of pastel tone, to have the US be a little bit more subdued, because let's face it, when you look around in the US, things tend to be a little bit more white, gray, beige. There's a little bit more subtlety when it comes to colors, whereas with Mexico we just go orange and yellow. So that was a way for me to make the two towns different, and also to show that the boy belongs in the two towns, because if you pay attention to his shirt, he's got the stripes. The yellow stripes are very, very bright yellow, but if you took away those stripes, the pink in his t-shirt is actually sort of a softer kind of pink, even though it looks very bright. If you took away the yellow, the brightness would quiet down. So it was a way to show him that he belongs in both places.
Yeah, no, I love all that stuff with color, and both of us are from border towns. Erika from the California area, Southern California, Northern Baja California, and I'm from South Texas, Northern Mexico, Northern Tamaulipas. On the U.S. side, on the border, there's a little more color than you see in other places, but it is, like she said, more subdued, like a little more pastel, which is just really fascinating. And so you can see there's like a continuity, but also like a difference, right? Like things are a little bit quieter and more muted in the U.S. There's a great question from Wilson here. Did you experience anything the boy in the book did? And where did you get your inspiration for characters? So the story of the boy is very tied to my life. When I was a kid, I would go across the border with my dad very often to visit my cousins and my great grandmother Genoveva and other people on the Mexican side. I was growing up in McAllen, the neighboring town was Reynosa, and it really was an important part of my childhood. And so when I had kids, my wife and I did the same thing with them. We were living in the town of Dana, and which is right next to Weslaco, and the neighboring two Mexican towns are Rio Bravo and Progreso. And Erika and I use Progreso really as kind of like a template for the Mexican town in this book. And so, going back and forth to Rio Bravo and to Progreso from the U.S. side with my kids, a lot of the kinds of things that the boy and the dad do together are things that I did with my son. But I was inspired to write about the asylum seekers, the refugees that are on the bridge, by actual people that, after my kids had already left home, my wife and I would encounter when we were crossing the border, because all my kids are grown up. In meeting with them and befriending them and bringing them supplies they needed, I kept imagining what it would be like for my kids to be young still and to meet some of the children on that bridge. And I knew, because I know my kids really, really well, that they would have become their friends and would have shared things with them and brought them toys and games and so forth. And so all of that together kind of like inspired me to write the story that intersects, that connects with my own personal life very closely.
Yeah, and when it comes to getting the inspiration for characters, very often, I don't know about David, but at least me, I tend to draw from people that I know. And funnily enough, in this particular case, it was the boy is inspired in someone that I didn't know yet, which was my nephew, who hadn't been born yet. But I just tried to imagine, okay, so he's probably going to look like a mix of his parents, and what is he going to look like when he's, like this age? And so it was a little bit more of I guess, a blend of a memory of my own brother and a projection to later on. But yeah, I'm sure that David also was drawing from people that he knew, like not just in thinking of his kids when they were little, but also all of the other characters that appear throughout the book.
Absolutely.
Then we've got from Megan, what was your motive for writing this story, which I think you've covered already. And how many times did you have to draw the pictures to get to the final version?
Lots, right?
Not really. It was so.
You're like, the book is full of my rough drafts.
Yes, it is just perfect the way it came out. No, I think I was a bit of a headache for the team in the publisher's house. I told them, look, guys, I if I have to paint something, if I draw something and then I try to draw it exactly the same way again, it's not going to happen and it's going to look terrible. So I said, what I'll do is I'll just do some very quick doodles for you. Like I'll do really, really rough sketches. And then the final version, that'll be the good one. So they actually approved all of the rough versions, and that's where we changed stuff. And then I actually painted the final version. So there weren't too many changes in that one, but the dad did change. I had a different design for the character of the dad, and I had already painted the first image. And then they went, you know what, we want to rework this character a little. So on that particular case, I will not tell you which one, but there is one image in the book where I actually painted a patch with the new head, and I pasted that head on top of the old dad. So somewhere in there, there's
that is hilarious. Yeah, no, there were, and I always feel guilty with that kind of stuff, because I love working with illustrators, but I also know, because I'm like the parent of illustrators, and I see their work as it progresses. I know how painstaking it is. I always feel kind of guilty when I'm like, that's really good, but I don't want to say the but as often as possible, I prefer just to like, oh wow, the illustrator came up with this. This is good. We're just gonna roll with that. But from time to time, there's like, oh, I'm sorry, but so it's cool. It's cool that you were able to find easy solutions to those things. I love that.
This is my favorite question. My favorite question.
Yeah, and maybe we can both address a little bit. Jackson asks, what did the river connect to in the story? So I'll talk about the river really quickly. So for some people who are not from this community, and maybe some people who are from the community, the river is a dividing line. It's a line that says, north of this river is the US, south of this river is Mexico. But when you grow up along the river, when your family has lived here for generations, like mine, like my family has lived on the river banks on the southern and northern side for 250 years since since it was first colonized by people from Mexico, from the Saltillo area in 1749. To us, the river is something that joins the two sides together. It's like the glue that pulls the community together. It's the life-giving like cord that runs down the middle, and without that river we wouldn't be able to have agriculture or green plants that give fruit and so forth on either side of that river. It's what's sustained the Cuauhtecan people, the indigenous people of this area, for thousands of years before any Europeans arrived here, and what sustains us now. And so that river is not, it's not a border to us. It is like a mother to us. Something like you can imagine a mother who has children on either side of her and it's kind of like pulling them close to her. That, to me, that's what the river is like. It joins rather than divides. And of course, Erika did a wonderful job illustrating it. And so maybe she can talk a little bit about how the river, like visually or in any other way, connects in the story.
Well, I mean, by the way, that image that you just made up, that's beautiful. Yeah, I mean, the river, if you think about it, water is the source of life. And water is a kind of, you need it for everything. You need it for drinking, for growing things. And obviously, both people from both sides of the border are going to be drawing from the same water. I don't think I've ever told you this, but for me, in Tijuana, which is where my family comes from, we have this saying that we don't have a river over there. We actually have the border over there is a line that somebody drew. Like, it's actually like someone said, okay, up to here, it's my house, and up to there, like that's where your house starts. Somebody made it up. And we don't have water as a physical division, but we do have a dam where we store water, and the belief is that as soon as you've drank some water from that dam, then you're never leaving, and you're going to stay here forever. Like, as soon as you've drank from that water, which is obviously just make believe, but I find that very beautiful. And I thought, when I was working on this, the river gets mentioned in like very few places, but it's an important element of the landscape. And I thought, well, in a way, if everybody's drinking from this water, then this water has made both sides. So you'll realize that there's actually blue running through both sides of the border. There's a lot of blue in a lot of the areas. We go back to the question of the colors. Blue for me was a very subtle way to signal that people came from both sides. And it's actually the reason why I decided to dress Dad all in blue. Like jeans and his shirt, it's all different shades of blue. And it's kind of this, he's kind of like the river walking the kid across both sides of the banks.
It's really interesting because I thought you had just like gotten access to like old photos of me back in my blue jean days, because there was a period of about 15 years of my life when like everything I wore was denim. So jeans, shirt, and like people would be like, dude, you're so out of touch with fashion. This is like in my late 30s and 40s. People were like, oh man, I don't know. And my kids would just shake their heads in sadness. By the way, I was going to say in a more literal way, because it's possible that this question might have been asked a little more literally. The river on one end connects to the Gulf of Mexico, and the other end is up in the mountains somewhere. I can't remember what mountains it starts in. I feel really ignorant that I don't know, but it's not in Texas. It's maybe Colorado, or I don't know. It's somewhere far away. I think it's Colorado where the river starts.
Could be.
Yep.
Yeah, because it's just.
Yeah, it curves. It comes out. I think it comes out of Colorado and it curves down through various states, and then comes. Your teacher can tell you, or Google can tell you. I could Google it right now, but it's more fun to show how ignorant I am.
yeah. That is where you realize that, not all grown-ups know everything.
Yes. Oh my gosh, that is definitely true.
Now, that's an interesting segue to a very complicated question, which is the last question. Do his friends join the boy in the US in the end? And why was this visit the most important visit for the dad? Oh, man.
Yeah, well, we hope that the friends end up in the US and are able to visit the boy.
Hopefully.
Yeah. You don't know by the end. There's definitely room for them, as the dad says, but the people who make those decisions aren't the dad and the boy. It's not the community, right? It's the government. It's people really, really high up who don't live there, and who have no notion of like what the community wants. And so, yeah, it's a tricky thing. I hope so. I'm hopeful that they do. I don't want the story to have a sad ending. I want it to have a happy ending.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way we left it, the way it's been done, it ends up being quite hopeful. But the reality is that all of the people that are waiting for refuge, they don't know either. They don't know if they're actually going to be able to get through or not, and when that's going to happen, if at all.
Yeah.
So yeah, like hopefully they did, but hopefully everybody else.
I will tell you that in real life, the people that were on that bridge got moved 45 miles away to another bridge, to like a camp in Matamoros, in a town south of Brownsville, really, really close to the Gulf. And that's where they tried to bring together all of these asylum seekers and have them just be processed slowly. And I mean, the pandemic complicated things or whatever, but I have no idea whether the people that we befriended came to the US or not. I gave them my contact information, but I've never heard from any of them. So it's kind of sad for me, but I suspect that the particular family that I got close to was sent back to Cuba.
Yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Okay. Wow. Okay. We have to figure out a way to make this happier. That's like a really
on
that happy note. Bye. See you later. No,
but thank you guys. Thank you so much for all your comments, for all your drawings. It really meant a lot, and so happy that this book found a good home in New Rochelle. Thank you guys.
Yes. Thank you. Hasta pronto. Nos vemos. Bye.
Bye.